Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart for those of you that are new. And today I'll be going over the 5 game NBA slate here for Tuesday night on DraftKings, talking through some of my favorite plays, some early look plays that we can potentially build around based on the injury news, all the good stuff in this video. So make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Do really appreciate all the support. Let's get right into it. 5 game slate. Let's head on over to the DraftKings Sportsbook odds. As we can see right now, the Kings Pistons is 11-point spread, 241.5 game total. Timberwolves, Magic, 5 point spread, 218. Blazers, Knicks, 11.5, 226.5 total. 8 point spread for the Grizzlies and Mavs, 234. And then Raptors, Lakers, 5 point spread, 232. So some interesting games for tomorrow's slate, aka this slate. So heading over here to the first game, Minnesota versus Orlando. These games are always, pretty low scoring, as you can see from the game total a few seconds ago. But Anthony Edwards is coming in at a great price tag. The minutes are there. As you can see, he's been super, super aggressive recently. The past 4 out of the 5 games, as you can see here, averaging close to 38 minutes, more than 20 shot attempts. I mean, the ceiling is there for Anthony Edwards, and he's only 9,000. So really, really like him, even in the slower pace matchup, tough defensive team against Orlando. But still, Anthony Edwards looks great. Point guard, shooting guard eligible. Carl Towns is still a little bit too cheap here. Minutes weren't great there, as you can see, but obviously dealt with a ton of foul trouble there, 5 fouls. So once again, really like him. If you can stay out of foul trouble, he has a really good shot to go for 40 plus fantasy points at 7.7K. Gobert, Conley. I mean, these guys are there. Sure, they could have some upside in GPPs if you wanted to be super different. I just don't think there's a need to really get to anyone else. Maybe Naz Reid. As you can see before that, he's very up and down. Just really more so a GPP dart throw play. McDaniels is fine value. As you can see, he should play a ton of minutes. It's just the offense production really not there. So you really need a solid game from him offensively. Otherwise, not going to do too much for you, even though the minutes are pretty solid. So don't mind taking a dart throw on him. And then Kyle Anderson playing around, 12 to 20 minutes. Nothing too crazy there. So yeah, not a lot to like here really besides the main two. And maybe if you want to take a shot on Gobert. Moving on to the Orlando side here. I mean, Paolo, as I said before, he's going to have to assume even more offensive ability and of that role with Franz being out. As we saw last game, 45 minutes. Obviously, it went to overtime, but 45 minutes, shot almost 30 times. Once again, went for a 64 bomb. I mean, at 9,000, Paolo, it's one of those things, unless they get blown out or he shoots like 2 of 20, he's going to be a really, really solid play. I mean, he's just going to have a ton of usage here in this spot. Suggs is 6.7K. Price didn't move. Minutes weren't great, but obviously he fouled out there. So once again, if he stays out of foul trouble, 6.7K, another one of those guys who's going to have to step up a lot. So I'm going to start throwing these guys in here. Just these guys I have a lot of interest in for tomorrow. Cole Anthony, 6.3K, 31 minutes. Didn't shoot the ball great, but still got 26 fantasy points. So once again, he was super aggressive, which was nice to see. He can stuff the stat sheet. So still have a ton of interest in him. And then Goga here at 5.7K. Did play 28 minutes, so he's playing high minutes. I don't mind taking a shot on him at 5.7. They're going to need his height going against Cat as well as Gobert. So he should play a good amount of minutes. I would assume Mo Wagner is going to play mid-20s minutes, which makes him a really good value at 5.4K. He's usually aggressive offensively. Wendell Carter is still out. Fultz came off the bench. He played on 15 minutes. I would assume it's going to be the same thing there. Don't have much interest in him. Caleb Houston did start. He played more of a shooter. So if you think he's going to hit his shots, I don't mind him at 4.7. Played a lot of minutes, but if he doesn't hit his shots, he could easily lose those minutes. It's not like it's safe and secure. So he's definitely risky there. Same thing with Chuma. Not the best offensively, but the minutes are great. They're going to need his size. So I would assume he starts once again. If he's going to play that many minutes at 4.6, even though he's not that great offensively, still could easily get there because they are missing Harris still. They're missing Isaac. They're missing Ingles. So they're missing a lot of guys here. Anthony Black only played 12 minutes, so it seems like he's fallen out of the rotation a bit. Unless we really change it up for tomorrow. But as of right now, a lot to like here for this Orlando side. I mean, once again, I think getting into 2, maybe even 3, could even go more. But I'd say at least 2 or 3 Orlando guys. As of right now, obviously that could change with the slate. But as of right now, that's a really good move. Moving on to the Sacramento side here. Sabonis and Fox, once again, they're really, really good plays. They got blown out that last game there going against the Pelicans. So obviously, they didn't get there. I mean, Sabonis almost still got there in 29 minutes, put up a 41 there. But yeah, he's been way, way too cheap. Even at that price of 10,000 against Detroit, he looks fantastic. Expect to bounce back here for De'Aaron Fox. So absolutely love these two. In terms of the rest of the team, I think they're just solid secondary options like Monk, Murray. We know they both have solid upside in GPPs. I just don't think there's a need to go there in the mid range when you can go to guys like Suggs, Chuma, Anthony, guys who are going to play, I don't throw in Chuma, but I'd say Suggs and Anthony, in terms of guards, I don't think there's a need to get to Malik Monk if you want to get super, super different. Pivot off the chalk, Suggs and Anthony, but otherwise, I think Suggs and Anthony are just way safer plays, have the similar ceiling, if not better ceilings. Barnes, Herter, Duarte, they're there. I mean, there's really no interest, no need to get some from me. Lyles, I always have interest in him just because he's always a solid, cheap play there at 3.9K. Moving on to Detroit here. Cade is out. So big news here because it's going to start the affecting. It's going to start the or I can't even talk. It's going to affect the starting lineup, is what I'm trying to say. I would assume, we're going to get the starting lineup of Duran, Bogdan, Ivy. I would assume Hayes, and then maybe we get like a Bagley or a Knox or a Livers. They can getting different every other game with kind of the small forward, power forward. Like Knox has started a few, Livers has started a few as well. So we're going to get a good amount of value here for Detroit because they're going to be not shorthanded, but more so there's going to be a lot of opportunities to go around. So I really like Bogdan. I really like Ivy. I think they're going to be the two main ones that step up offensively. Bogdan's already kind of been the main guy alongside Cade, but he should be even more aggressive now with no Cade Cunningham. Ivy, his minutes should hopefully be very secure. He's been starting point guard, shooting guard eligible. He's going to be more so the point guard lead point. So I really like him. Really like Bogdan. I think Duran's always a solid GPP option with his upside for double doubles. And then guys like Killian Hayes. I mean, we've seen him be very bad. We've seen him be very good. It's a mixed bag of what you're going to get from him. But if he's going to start 4.5K, lots like there. Same with Alec Burks. He's priced up to 5.4K. But if he starts or even comes off the bench, he should see 20 plus minutes. He's a solid play. Then whoever starts at the small forward, power forward spot, whether it's Livers or Knox, I think they're fine plays. Not like must plays, but they're fine plays. They're decent plays because they should play solid minutes. So a lot to like here for Orlando and Detroit. Moving on to Portland here. On the Portland side, Anthony Simons is just way too cheap here. I mean, every time I've played him, he's had his worst games, but it's the minutes. He's going to see the maximum amount of minutes as he can, close to 38. He's going to shoot the ball 20 plus times. It's just one of those things. I've kind of struck out every time I played him. He's gone for 35 fantasy points, maybe a little bit less, but we know the upside is there. As you can see, he can easily go for 50 plus. So once again, really, really like him. And the upside there, obviously, there's a blowout risk here going against the Knicks. Grant, he should be kind of that secondary scorer, a little bit score independent recently, but the minutes are huge. So I think he's a fine play. Aiden is questionable. If he's good to go, it just takes the other centers out of play for me. But if he's out, once again, we could look to a guy like Reith, but he's priced up to 5.5K. So nothing too crazy there, even though he did play 41 minutes in the last game. So it looks like they're going to run with him at center. And if that's the case, no Ayton. I think Reith is a really good option there at 5.5K. I think he'd be best played in terms of those centers. You got Wagner, Reith, and Goga. I think Reith would probably be the best if you think they're going to be secure. Otherwise, I think they're all pretty much the same play. Henderson, Scoot, he's a fine play there. But with Anthony there and with Shaden Sharp there, Scoot's still going to be the third option. So I'd rather get to these two guys. Sharp, I think he's a really strong play at 5.7K as well. Another one of those guys who should play mid 30s minutes. He's going to shoot the ball a ton, can get the peripheral stats as well. So I really like Simons, really like Sharp, and I think Reith is a really interesting play if there's no Ayton. Now if there's Ayton, it's going to take Reith out of play for me. And that's really it. I don't think there's a need to really get to any of these other guys here, like a Kamara who's playing some minutes. Thibault should be back. They could eat into a little bit of Kamara's minutes as well. But yeah, I mean, all the usage is going to be going to guys like Simons, Grant, and then Sharp. And then Brogdon's going to be coming off the bench, soaking up some of that usage as well. So not a lot to go around offensively in terms of like the other guys. There's no really cheap value. So I'd really just stick with the main guys there. And the big news there is Ayton if you do want to get to Reith. Moving on to the Knicks here. Brunson, Randall, they're going to be more so contrarian options. Don't love the price tag in either one of them. It's just one of the things, if you want to get contrarian and different, you can definitely pay up for them because it's a good spot against Portland. Hartenstein, the minutes are great. He's been very, very, impressive recently, as you can see. So I think he's a nice pivot play off of those, cheaper, chalky centers. Wagner, Reith, if there's no Ayton, and Goga. OG, it's a fine play. Once again, I don't think there's going to be huge impact offensively on him. So right now, more of a stay away from me. Hart and DiVincenzo, I think they're fine plays as well. Once again, I don't think there's a need to really get to these guys just with all the value on the Orlando and Detroit side. These guys are more so just contrarian options, pivot plays. If you don't want to play chalk, you can look to them. Moving on to Memphis here, it looks like Ja should be out this game as well. So we're gonna get, Bane, Jackson Jr., Smart. Luke Kennard did start that last game in Biombo. So Biombo was cheap, played mid-20s minutes. I think he's a fine value. Um, Dallas isn't that not a tall team, so that could really limit Biombo though. So that's the risk there. Luke Kennard did start, only played 22 minutes, which you don't like to see in a close game there. So there's a risk there, but I still really like him as valued 4.3. Marcus Smart, 6.3. I mean, he should assume more. As you can see, played a ton of minutes, was super aggressive. He looks really strong there at 6.3. And then Bane, once again, looks fantastic at his price tag. He should be super aggressive, shoot the ball a ton. And if Jaren Jackson is good to go, one of those guys, I mean, all three of them, Bane, Smart, Jaren Jackson, they're all really, really good plays. Now, if Jackson Jr. misses, I would assume they either slide in, I would assume it'd be Santi, but they could definitely start Venus Williams Jr. in there. And both of those guys would be really solid. And whoever came off the bench out of those two would be a really strong play. But obviously, I'd prefer Santi just because he's obviously better offensively. We saw him had a couple big games this season so far. So another team where there's a lot to like here because there's a lot of injuries. Moving on to Dallas here, not much interest from me. I mean, it's going to be very easy to get up to Luka if you want to have like that star, just one superstar in your lineup, like Luka, who's been averaging close to like 70 fantasy points per game. I mean, it's going to be easy with all the value on the board today, but I'm really liking kind of just the mid-range build, just with how many guys in the mid-range should see a ton of minutes and a ton of usage. So I think that's going to be the chalky optimal build, is going that kind of the usage, that middle build, that balanced build. But obviously, you can definitely pay up for Luka if you want to. But he should be good to go. Same thing as Kyrie. I mean, it's not a back-to-back, so they should be fine here. So yeah, I like both of them if you want to get different and pay up for them. But otherwise, not much interest for me on this team here because all the usage is obviously going to those two. Moving on to Toronto here. Toronto side, Scotty, Pascal, once again, and quickly Barrett. I mean, it's just one of those things. More so secondary pivot pieces off of the other chalky plays across the board. Like instead of Bane, you can go to a guy like Scotty or a guy like Pascal, similar upside, just be way less owned. Quickly, he's been great recently. Last game blew out. Still only played 26 minutes, 32 fantasy points. So as you can see, since he's been traded to them, I think it was Cleveland was his first start. Don't quote me, but 41, 38, 32 in the last three. So he looks like a strong play. Barrett had his best game, I think, of the past 2 years, I would assume. He had a great game, but I don't trust the production there. I'd rather go with the main three guys: Barnes, Siakam, and quickly. Barrett's a fine mid-range play. Schroeder should see about 30-ish minutes off the bench. Decent at 5.8, but still, I just think there's better options across the board. Then moving on to the Lakers here. Once again, Anthony Davis, LeBron. If you guys want to pay up, if you don't want to pay up for a guy like Luka, I mean, I think these two would be your best bets. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, either one of them. I think they're about even right now. I think Anthony Davis still has a little bit more upside with the double-double there for him. But yeah, both look like really great, strong spin-up plays if you don't want to pay up for a guy like Luka, who's probably going to be super popular on the slate just with all the cheap value across the board. Yeah, and then Reeves, starting point guard, he's been pretty solid. Don't mind taking a shot at him at 7.4K if you do want to get a little bit more different and weird with your lineup there at 7.4K for a starting guard. Otherwise, I think Rui is questionable, doubtful most likely. So that just means more minutes for a guy like Wood off the bench, maybe a little bit more sprinkled to Christie. But I really don't think there's a need to get to those value guys. It's really just going to be building around Orlando, building around Detroit, and then sprinkling in some Memphis guys, and then possibly paying up for Luka. That's probably going to be the most popular build, is doing that. So once again, as I said, there's a lot of different value, a lot of different pivot plays and pieces we can get to. Guys like Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, guys like Sabonis and Fox. I would assume Brunson and Randall are in that conversation for Dallas. Obviously, Luka, Kyrie, and then for Toronto, you have obviously the main two, Barnes and Siakam, and then quickly is kind of coming in that range, and then as well as the Lakers here, Anthony Davis and LeBron. So a lot of ways to get different in terms of your spend ups, but yeah, I think the main optimal build is going to be kind of building around these guys. Obviously, you're going to have those Memphis guys as well, Bane, Jackson Jr., Smart, depending on that Jackson Jr. news. But yeah, kind of building around three guys on each team, and then kind of plugging in one or two stars if you want. So that's the video for today, guys. Hope you guys liked the video. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.